In 61, exactly. And so there's two reasons why we want to go to cloud computing. There is one, this reason of, I want to be able to do anything whenever I want. And I want my freedom to use petabytes of storage and huge number of flops of processing power. But then there is also the economical reason. What is clear is cloud computing provides the ability to change the way we do business. Cloud computing, first of all, describes a change in the way we deal with computing things. We go from a product economy to a service economy. We are going from, I need to type some text, so I will purchase this word processor, to, I need to type some text, so I will use and pay for my use for this thing. And this can be applied to any technology that we are using currently. And in this change, we are empowering the individual, the enterprise, to be much more productive, because instead of having to wait until the resource is available, the resource is readily available at his wish. And that reduces the time to market to any idea that you have. And this is the economical validation of cloud computing.
Right. Any comment, Ignacio, on that? From the perspective of...
No, it was more related to a previous comment about different types of clouds, because I think that there's not a single cloud solution fit in all environments and all industries. And we see that one of the benefits of open source is that it can be adapted to fulfill different requirements. For example, you compare clouds that are being built for mission-critical applications with clouds for HPC or clouds with for virtual private cloud computing. They are all different. So you need open source technology because you have to adapt that technology to fit into these different environments. So it's not like you can create a single solution for that.
Sorry, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between your customized commercial software with customized open source software? You could pay for companies to customize the software for you. In my question.
I don't think it's so easy. I mean, you, for example, have a VMware cloud solution, and you want VMware to adapt their solution to your environment. I don't think that they are going to provide a service for you. I mean, because
you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can influence the roadmap, but that's all. I mean, if you have some...
If you're big enough.
Yeah. And with open source, it's not only that the code is open, it's also that the architecture is open, you know. You have information about the internal interfaces. You can also have an important contribution to the roadmap of the project. You know that you have a fast development cycle. I mean, I think there are many reasons behind that, you know, that brings you to use open source instead of a proprietary software.
Something important you mentioned is about openness in terms of architecture. We speak about open standards every day and things like that, and we could consider an open standard as only open API. Hopefully there are people like you taking care of that. But an open API is not good enough because it relies on the infrastructure, I mean the architecture, I would say, that is provided with the software. And the API is there to hide this complexity. And basically, when you are linked to this kind of API, it's very difficult to move to another one. With open source, you can do that. You have access to the implementation in open source of the standards and things like that. You can check what's behind, while it's much more difficult with other stuff.
But I think first, I don't think that you need open source for interoperability. I mean, it's more interoperability and portability is more related to the interfaces that you are exposing, no?
Standards.
So for the users, for the users, I mean, they don't care if there's open source behind or not. I mean, as long as they can access the cloud using standard APIs, I mean, that's the point. But for the people building the cloud, I think in some cases when they want to adapt the solution to the data center, they need open source to do that adaptation. to have that flexibility. It's more for the integration.
So it's more for the integration in that case, that the principles of open source make sense.
Yeah, for me, I mean, if you want to achieve interoperability, you need standard APIs, standard data formats, and also a common definition of levels of security and quality of service. I mean, you need those 4 points you want to
Which are
to
big
provide.
points, by the way. I mean, each of them is a huge,
Yeah.
is a huge point.
But if you want
itself,
to create an open, interoperable cloud market, I mean, it's not only about the APIs and the data formats, it's also about the level of services and the quality of service. So you can compare different providers with the same, under the same
right.
security.
Well then, yeah, okay. If you take one step back and look at the economics of the whole thing, you could actually argue against that argument, is that why would you have a competitive market of open cloud provider? I mean, the issue of security or the issue of downtime or the issue of even the issues of privacy, have never prevented the people to run to Google, to Facebook, to Amazon, to host and run their own services. So why would an Amazon or an existing commercial enterprise, for which delivering that service is a byproduct of building it for their own purpose, which is to sell books, to sell ads, or to basically run ads on their network, why would they switch, or why would they encourage or participate or contribute into a more open view of their architecture? We saw Facebook, again this year, opening or offering to the communities the open compute platform for data centers and platform as a service in a form which looked like open from the publications. Why are they doing this, if not for their own marketing and positioning? Because nobody is going to replace or redo what they did and to provide another Facebook. I mean, it doesn't make sense business-wise. However, I understand that it could make sense in terms of a company preparing an IPO in the coming years.
I'd like to disagree with what has been said. No, we do care about open source. We do care about open source because this is the only guarantee that the formats, the standards we are defining, have something that is well known, well described, and where the other implementation that may be closed source can be tested against. This is really fundamental in the sense that otherwise we are offering a way to lock in people. Coming back to your statement about Amazon, what would be their interest? There is absolutely none. Okay? When you are in a dominant position in the market, you will do whatever is possible to stay in this dominant position. However, this opening is not coming from them. Mm-hmm. The opening is today, when we look at the OpenStack project, you've got basically everyone that one day wants to be a competitor of Amazon that has joined this project because they see it as the possibility through the mass implementation of something similar to compete against a dominant position. And this is what is happening, and this can be explained in very, very standard economical term. Open source is here used as a way to compete.
So reopening the battlefield for new competition.
And at the same time, bringing...
And innovation, of course.
Bringing some openness to the world business, which guarantees the individuals extended to organization right to have their data and their compute wherever they want.
Some player which is some player which is interesting that we'll see in the field, appearing in the field, is the cloud audit. There's some work on that. It's really important when you audit something. I mean, you know quite well when you go through due diligence, you open all the files, you open all the wallets and everything, and you need access to any type of document, any type of mechanism, any type of account. How can you do that in a closed environment? It's very difficult. So I would say open source is a plus for transparency, for the sake of business, because it will be able. We will be able to prove that the business we run on is properly managed. So that's one very important point. And to get back to what has been said about competition and Amazon, it's always the same thing in business. I mean, it's about gross margin. Yeah. Okay, when Sun arrived on the market, and they almost killed digital because of the gross margin. They were able to do better, as good machines as digital, but for lower cost. Today, gross margin, I've heard that, and I can repeat it here, no problem. Gross margin for Amazon is 95%.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
It's not a surprise. So there are rooms for competition and for improvement. So I think it's OpenStack, OpenNebula, these new cloud providers are there to change the paradigm that Amazon surely has created, and they're smart enough to get some advantage. But now there is some competition. And that's important, that this competition, the driving force of competition is about open source, because it will create new startups, new values, new ideas.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. This is exactly the point I wanted to make. There's nothing new on Earth. There's nothing new. It's all about business. Then the discussion is on what technologies should I rely my business and my offering, depending if I'm a consumer in the cloud or if I'm a provider and building the cloud. It's always about the cost, the value I get out of it, and the risks. So every customer, when you have to bet your company on the cloud, and you will put your data and your processes and your way you will earn money or deliver services if you're in administration, you will always consider those three elements. And sometimes a fourth one, which is a political one, especially in the public sector, but also in the private industries. So, first question: what is the cheapest offer? Then, is it powerful enough for me to get value out of it? And then, what is the risk? And then you go into discussions like trust, like security, like openness. May I change that in modifying the code because I need to? Do I need to modify the code? Maybe not. So it depends a lot. And it's only by making that kind of comparison, and even that is not easy, that you will end up by choosing either X, Y, and Z. So that's been the case for many, many years, probably centuries, and that will rely like that for another many centuries.
Whatever years.